Whatever makes you feel you are entitled to unforgiveness has actually become the same reason why you do not qualify to appear before God's presence. Why did I say that? The Bible says, forgive us our trespasses as we forgive those who trespass us. How you forgive measures how you will be forgiven. Let me ask you a question. The way you are treating your partner's offense, if God treats your offense that way, will you still be alive? It is dangerous for you to be in a relationship and you are harboring unforgiveness. You become a cemetery of dead events. If there's somebody you need to forgive, walk up to them today and tell the person, you offended me big time, but I let it go. I let it go. The person doesn't really need to ask you for forgiveness to be forgiven. Stop allowing yourself to be imprisoned by other people's offense by saying, if he doesn't come to ask me for it on bended knees, I will never forgive him. Well, you have just imprisoned yourself. If you get sexual satisfaction outside of someone you call your partner, if you get sexual satisfaction, whether in real time or online, you are actually having an affair. It is critical for you to understand that when we're dealing with affairs, it includes any romantic or sexual affair and relationship, and sometimes it can be for a brief moment. So the brevity of it does not exclude it from being called an affair. There are three types of affairs, basically. Class 1 affair. Class 1 affair is when you always go out to have just one stand. Today, the person you slept with is totally different from the one you slept with last week. Class 1. It happens to singles, it happens to couples. Now, the bottom line is that in class 1, there is no connection emotionally or physically. It is all about pleasure. Never forget this. In class 1 affair, pleasure drives. But when it comes to class 2 affair, it's beyond just one moment, one stand. No. You've already found something that you consider in this person to be of greater interest than your partner. Or the reason some people do class 2 affair is that I love my wife. My wife has good character. My wife loves God. My wife likes to pray. But there's a problem. My wife is not sexually adventurous. My wife is not the type that will climb the pole, that will do burlesque dance, that will twerk for me. And I already have all these things in my mind. And I'm ashamed to ask my wife, who is a Jesus woman, because I'm afraid if I tell my wife, twerk for me, do burlesque dance, climb the pole for me, I'm afraid that my Jesus woman is going to start quoting scriptures and make me feel like a sinner. So I keep my wife, but then there's this other person who satisfies my sexual curiosity. Class 3 affair is where there's deep commitment to one another, shared responsibilities. It is no longer private. It is no longer secretive. It is public. You've made your wife to know if you're married. You've told your fiance or fiance, listen, this is what is happening. I have this person in my life. You like it, fine. You don't like it, you can go. At this level, at class 3, there is no more shame. There is no more secrecy. It is open. The parties involved are sexually addicted to one another. What are the causes of affairs? Number 1, it is called proximity. When you spend too much time with the opposite sex in an unguarded and unstructured way, your sexual resistance will begin to crumble. In different sectors of society, proximity increases affinity. Affinity increases affairs. Affairs increases infidelity. The second cause of affairs is called preference. The inability to bury preference is the reason why after you are married, you're still finding yourself having affairs. And nobody has ever told you that your preference is the driver of your affairs. There are men who have preference for women who are very educated. You like women who are Harvard trained. And unfortunately, your wife wasn't Harvard trained. Your wife's parents couldn't have even afforded it. So your wife is local trained. Your wife is a local breed. She went to, if you're in my country, your wife went to College of Education. Your wife went to State University. Your wife did not even go to an Ivy League university in your country. But you have preference for these women who are academics, you have preference for women who are professors, and stuff like that. Here's what I want to say. If you don't train your wife to become a professor, the preference for professors will drive you out of your marriage, drive you out of your relationship. The same thing with you as a woman. If you like wealth, you like money, and of course I understand every woman likes money. If you do not deal with that, when you get married to a man who doesn't have too much of it, who can provide you with the basics, your desire for preference, your preference for men with wealth, for comfort, for luxury, your preference for that will be the reason for your constant affairs. One of the major drivers of affairs is position. I'll give you an example. There's a man called Strauss-Kahn, former IMF president or whatever, the person in charge of IMF. He got to a position, an enviable position, as the IMF top chief, and he was disgraced from that position because it was discovered that he was using that position to have affairs. I want to speak to the men in our midst. Please, sir, we are praying for God to lift you up. We are praying for every young man that God will lift you up. That's why we spend time to pray in the prophetic prayer hour. We're praying that God will open doors for all of you. But here is the point. As God lifts you up, be careful of what goes up with you. The reason we're having this conversation is so that you can begin to check the kind of things that can go up with you as you rise up, so you can lay them to rest. Otherwise, if you don't lay them to rest as you rise, they will lay you to rest as you rise. $5:50 a.m. West African time. Tomorrow we'll gather again in God's presence for a time of refreshing, a time of revival, a time of deliverance, breakthrough, a time to prosper in God's presence. As we come together to pray, we believe here that as we pray, we prevail and we prosper, because with our God all things are possible. Join us bright and early with your family members. It's about family. It's our covenant day of prayer for family members who are sick, who are trusting God for marriage, who are trusting God for breakthroughs, careers, or a career turnaround, healings, whatever the case may be. We're looking forward to connect with you and your family members.
Be lifted above all other gods. Tonight we lay our crowns and worship. Lift your voice and sing tonight. Say, oh, be lifted. Let him hear your voice. Come on.